On modern geopolitics, it helps to think of it like a massive, high-stakes chess game. On this global board, every player is constantly making moves, all trying to secure their position and, well, get an edge. And for a long, long time, one player has kind of held the most powerful pieces on that board: the United States. Its influence, militarily, economically, even culturally, has been right at the center of how world events have played out. But hey, it's a game, right? And in any game, you've got challengers. So who are the other big players making their own strategic moves across the board? Let's get into it. All right, so first up, let's really zoom in on that central player. Because if you don't understand where its power comes from, the rest of the game just doesn't make sense. So what's the source of all this power? Well, it really comes down to these three big pillars. You've got a seriously strong military with bases all over the world, an absolutely massive economy that's the largest on the planet, and a cultural influence that, let's face it, reaches just about everywhere. Put them all together, and you get this incredible pull in global affairs.
Okay, but here's the thing. When you're at the top, someone is always gunning for your spot. So let's talk about the key players who are really challenging the US position in this game.
And you can't talk about rivals without starting with China. I mean, over the last few decades, its economic boom has just been astronomical. It's gone from being a regional power to a genuine global heavyweight, and for sure its most significant long-term competitor. Now, what's so fascinating here is that this isn't some old-school military standoff. It's a strategic rivalry, and it's happening on multiple fronts. In the economy, it's a battle over who dominates global trade. In tech, it's an all-out sprint to lead in things like AI and 5G. And then there's global investment, with China's huge Belt and Road Initiative funding projects all over the world. Every move is about reshaping that global economic map. Okay, next on our list, Russia. And with Russia, you've got this tension with the US that goes way, way back. We're talking deep historical roots here. And I mean, look at this. You really see how the past is never truly past, right? You just can't make sense of the friction today without rewinding to the Cold War. That legacy is the fuel for so many modern disagreements, from security fights over NATO expanding right up to Russia's doorstep, to these constant accusations of meddling in elections. It's a very old rivalry being fought on very new battlegrounds. All right, let's shift gears and head over to the Middle East, because Iran represents one of the longest, most complicated standoffs the US has ever been in. For decades now, the whole story has revolved around these same core issues. There's this constant push and pull for influence across the Middle East. Then you layer on top of that these major international concerns about its nuclear program and, of course, the crushing economic sanctions. It's just this tangled mess where, let's be honest, trust has been basically non-existent for a very, very long time. And finally, we've got North Korea, the player that always seems to grab headlines, mostly because it's one of the most unpredictable pieces on the board. So, what's the deal with North Korea? Well, it all boils down to one thing, really. Its drive to develop nuclear weapons. That one goal creates this whole cycle of diplomacy, swinging from super tough sanctions to attempts at negotiation and back again. But really, it's the sheer unpredictability of it all that keeps North Korea as a major, persistent worry for global security. So, we've laid out the rivals, right? But, and this is a big but, this is where the story gets a lot more interesting. Because global politics is almost never black and white. It's so easy to fall into that trap, isn't it? Thinking of the world in terms of us versus them, or good guys and bad guys. But is that really how it works? The short answer is no, not really. And that's because of this really important idea called national interest. Basically, every country on the board is playing for its own team. They're making moves to protect their own security, grow their economy, and expand their influence. It's less about friendship and way more about strategy. That's why two countries that are rivals in one area might turn around and cooperate on trade, because it's in both of their best interests. And this right here, this shows you exactly what I'm talking about. On the left, you've got all the classic conflicts we've been discussing. But on the right, you see these huge issues that are bigger than any one rivalry. Think about something like climate change or fighting a global pandemic. Those are things that force even the biggest enemies to work together, because they have to. Which leads us to another huge piece of this chess game: alliances. Because nobody, not even the biggest superpower, can go it alone. For the US, these partnerships are absolutely crucial. They help balance out the power of rivals, they create a sort of framework that keeps things stable, and they build this incredibly complex web of relationships where countries can be competing one minute and cooperating the next.
So that brings us right back where we started, looking at this big global chessboard. And if there's one thing to take away from all this, is that the board is never, ever static.
The thing to remember is that nothing happens by accident. Every action, every treaty, every public statement, it's all a calculated move. Every player is thinking 2, 3, 4 steps ahead, trying to guess what the other guys are going to do, all to protect their own interests.
I love this quote because it just hits the nail on the head. The balance of power is always shifting, alliances change, and today's biggest problem might be totally forgotten by next year. It's a game that's always in flux.
And that leaves us with one final thing to chew on. If change is the only thing you can count on in this global game, what does that mean for the relationships we see right now? Today's rival could very well be tomorrow's what? It's a game that's always, always in motion.